you considered the messages your outfits send? What do you think your clothes say about you? See, style is about the clothes, but it's not really about the clothes. Every day you make choices about what you're going to wear, but what are you communicating? Welcome to Above and Beyond Style. I'm your host, Maria DiLorenzo, and in 2019, I founded MFD Style, where I provide a unique, intuitive approach to personal styling for those ready to embrace a more meaningful look. With this podcast, I'll uncover key elements of where spirituality, psychology, and style intersect, revealing how you can make intentional wardrobe choices that reflect who you really are. So let me ask you, are you ready to transform into your authentic self? Then it's time. Come with me on this journey, and together we'll take your style above and beyond style. Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to Above and Beyond Style. Again, this is season 2, where I have just been totally enjoying and the privilege of connecting with all sorts of different folks, experts in their respective fields, to discuss and unpack a bit more about style, the role of style in their work, how it might get interpreted in some of the work that they're doing, and really help reinforce these connections between style, psychology, and spirituality, which you know are kind of my 3 core pieces of my work. So today's guest, I'm really excited to have because she's a relatively new connection for me, but one that I really feel so grateful to her for many reasons for how we connected and what I've learned from her own work. So Kate Hammer was someone that I met recently, earlier this year, at the New England Coastal Creative Conference, which is a conference where she and I both were in attendance. Kate was actually hosting this wonderful, interesting conversation with a social media influencer and content creator that was just so useful and gave us so much good information to kind of chew on. So that was my first exposure to Kate, and then had the privilege of signing up for participating in a business and media mashup coaching course that she and another colleague of hers actually co-facilitated. And this experience, which I'll talk a little bit more in this episode, was really helpful to me on many levels and really speaks to Kate's expertise. So let me tell you a little bit about Kate. So Kate Hammer is a business coach and consultant who lives in upstate New York with a family of 4. And she says that building a business takes courage, and you deserve to feel empowered in it. And if you're feeling lost, unorganized, or maybe just plain overwhelmed, one-on-one coaching with her is, as someone who really cares about you and your success just as much as you do, can truly be a valuable investment. She will work with you to develop short and long-term strategy, brand confidence, and creative solutions to sticky problems. And you will come to see Kate's a master at this. She comes to work with a toolbox packed with over a decade of experience, an advanced degree in information management, data science certification, and a long list of happy one-on-one clients. And Kate is also the host of her own podcast called You Know How to Live, and season 2 will be out very soon. So Kate, welcome to Above and Beyond Style.
Maria, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted. And oh my goodness, what a lovely intro. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And it's all true. So that's what makes it more important and more special. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we did get a chance to be introduced to each other, and especially in the context of this really beautiful community of women business owners. The New England Coastal Creative is just such a lovely spot to meet peers and just feel what that feels like to be around people who just kind of see the world the same way through the same lens. I feel like since you and I have had a chance to get to know each other, we've realized that we have so much in common from, even some things in our style, but also just in the way that we see the world and how we approach doing business and relationships. So I think one of the first things I remember about when we got to talk was putting on a chambray shirt to just establish that camaraderie, because I think you and I both just really appreciate the simplicity and the ease of just throwing on some denim right up
Ah,
top.
so true. It was one of those like closet staples. And I
Yeah.
love it because I think maybe even one of the first calls we had, you put on the denim shirt. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's a girl after my own heart.
I think it's the same one. I think we have the same
Yes.
J. Crew chambray, and it'll come back every so often. I haven't seen it on their website recently, but whenever they bring it back, they totally will. You need to link it for your people. I'm sure you will, because it's a hit. You can't go wrong. The color is so good.
So
It's a
soft.
it's a soft blue. It's a great little confidence boost.
I
The
love
best.
it. It
Love
is
a
cute.
chambray.
Literally, I've said if my house were on fire, and God willing, that'll never happen, but if my house were on fire and I had to take certain pieces from my wardrobe and get out, I would
Yeah.
take that shirt.
Yes.
So it's a go-to. Well,
Yeah.
Kate, I'm excited to talk a little bit. I think it'd be helpful for the audience to know a little bit about your own sort of entrepreneurial journey and
Yeah.
hearing a little bit about your work as a business coach and consultant. So can you tell us a little story for you?
Oh, yeah, I will. And I think what I'll do, because of the context of the podcast, is to bring a parallel along with it of uh, how my style has changed throughout the time of my business. So my background, I worked a typical 9 to 5 desk job plus, because, we're in America, and apparently if you don't work more than 40 hours, it's a problem. Or at least that was the impression I was under in my 20s. But not anymore. Anyways, so, I did my undergrad degree and I went straight into the workforce, and I never imagined I would be an entrepreneur. It just felt like something that people do who are risk takers, who are super brave, and who just, know a lot about business, or maybe grew up with parents who own businesses. So that was not on my radar at all. But I eventually ended up finding myself in public affairs at Syracuse University. And one of the great benefits of working at university is you get credits as part of your benefits package. So I did a master's degree while I was there, and I was looking inside the university for a way to move up. And right about that time, we had a new chancellor come in, and there was a hiring freeze and not a lot of opportunity for upward mobility. And I started to look a little bit outside of the area as well. Part of my job in public affairs meant that I was just constantly creating new relationships and meeting all sorts of people. And so some opportunities came up simultaneously. And I thought, I wonder what this would look like if, instead of choosing one of these job offers, I offered a contract. If I decided, okay, well, I wonder if these two people could be, or, two businesses could be clients of mine instead of an employer of mine. And it was just very much on a whim. I just kind of tossed it out there, and that was accepted. And I sort of shocked myself into, oh my goodness, like, am I really going to do this? Am I going to file for an LLC? Is this high risk? And I had several weeks before I was leaving my job at SU, where I already had these contracts done. And so I felt like I had the security that I needed. One of the contracts was 24 months um, right out of the stable. What is the expression?
Out
Help
of the
me.
gate, out of the gate.
The gate. Oh my gosh. The stable. Yes, right out of the gate. I was like, okay, so this is possible. And I think this is an important story, because I think, for so many people who haven't had a business before, there's this idea of, oh, I'm not that type of person. But I want people to know, I'm not that type of person. I'm not a risk taker. That's not me. That's super uncomfortable for me. But this thing just sort of naturally came up, and I just thought, you know what, let's give it a shot. And there are a lot of other parts of security that are very real and need to be recognized about my life. I'm married to someone who could offer our family good benefits. There's a lot of privilege there that's important to recognize. But within the context of my life, it was possible to pursue that. And so I did. And I haven't looked back, and it's been several years, and it's been awesome. And it started as just a very pure consulting company where, I had come out of that master's program with a background in data science and my undergrad in writing. And I thought, okay, I'm going to apply this very specific skill set. I put my glasses on, I put my suit on, and I wanted to be regarded as like, this super intense professional who would just really show up and blow people's minds. And I thought that really that whole aesthetic was tied in acutely, that it was necessary that in order for me to be perceived as credible
Mm.
in what I could offer, that I needed to look that part. And that also went along with the types of clients I would take. I worked with, traditional businesses where you'd easily recognize what the type of business was, like, a restaurant owner or a gym owner or a pharmaceutical company or a property investment company. I wanted to be so clear. I was so cautious of being really clear and crisp and refined that I really lost sight of the potential of any fun of it. Or I shouldn't even say lost sight. I never really even had sight of how fun and engaging it could really be, and how much freedom I could have. So it wasn't until a few years into my business that I decided to start jumping into the Instagram scene and flex a little creativity there, and start to meet people and build some community there, where I realized, oh, I don't have to do it this way necessarily. I don't have to do everything on a local level. I realized, oh, you know what? I can use tools like Zoom to work with clients that are out of state. And so I really shifted heavily from working, primarily with local clients to now clients all over the country, and, even upwards in North America. Ontario, I know we have someone in common that we know. A shout out to Colleen Blake Miller up in Toronto, although she just moved to Atlanta, so she'll be joining us as an American, but very shortly here. But yeah, it's been so fun to just really spread my wings and realize I can prototype, I can try things, I can work with people in industries that are harder to explain or very creative, or I can even work with people who haven't yet established themselves and are curious and trying to see if they might be able to get a foothold in something that they want to pursue that's outside of the 9 to 5 that they're used to. And so it's been really exciting to move from just this very structured consulting role into a coaching role as well, to work more with women than men, when at first it was almost entirely men, or actually for a while it was entirely men, but now like just so much more breadth, and what has really led to so much more depth and impact, and excitement and energy around it for me too. And with that, I've felt a huge shift in my style, because what Instagram actually helped me to recognize is that very few people, and definitely not anyone I'm interested in at this point, as far as a client or colleague, very few people actually care about your perfect suit, or that you're wearing glasses or not, or what exactly your degree is even. I think in the context of private industry, in the context of acting as an employee, we think about our resume, our LinkedIn in this very particular manner. But as an entrepreneur, um, it's just a different world. And so when I gave myself some room to just creatively express myself in my style as well, just show up on Instagram, which is public facing, where I would potentially be, prospecting and what have you, showing up there and what I actually wear in my day to day, that was extremely empowering and exciting. And it also helped me to really connect with people who uh, would be a good fit for me for a lot of reasons, where there would be like some really easy natural chemistry. It's been so much easier for me to kind of go through that weeding process of, and it's really on both sides. I don't mean like I'm picking who I want to work with. I mean, in this very mutual way, like how, are we aligned? Is this a good matchup? Part of that is getting my style front and center. This is how I show up. This is what I look like in an earnest sense. Like, this is what appeals to me, especially when it comes into elements like, brand design and things like that. Because yes, I can follow a set of guidelines or rules. If somebody's like, hey, this is what I want specifically, sure, I can execute on that. But what's way more fun is when you get to work with a client who wants to build something together, that is interested in your perspective and how it can be shared with theirs and build something that maybe they weren't imagining initially. So that's like the big shift for sure.
Yeah, I thank you so much for this context and story, because I think a lot of people can really relate to that, especially in the early iterations of whatever your career might be, whether that is an entrepreneurial space or you're the more traditional workforce, sort of the dressing for the part.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel that pressure of, like you were saying, like depending on the client. I'm just imagining as you were listing through, like the restaurant owner, the gym owner, that right, like all the different style aesthetics that I would feel compelled to dress up as, right, or to feel like I fit the part for them to relate to me.
Yeah.
And it not actually being really authentic to me. I was really just being malleable to whatever I thought they wanted me to show up as, right? And there's a disconnect there.
Yes, there is a disconnect there, because what I have found, and Maria, I'm curious how this works for you too in your business, because you show up Maria, right?
Right.
So like when I meet a client for the first time and I'm showing up as me, I am immediately giving that person permission to do the same, right? Like that's something that we can always all do for each other. If I am speaking earnestly, if I am showing up with my own aesthetic, that is an invitation to the other to say like, hey, you do you. I'm going to do me. We're not here trying to figure out how we can fit in with each other. We're going to accept and celebrate each other instead. So whether or not my aesthetic, my style, the way I dress makes sense for context, I've basically just gotten to a place where I totally disregard that. I have a very specific set of things that I tend to wear. I can even tell you.
Yeah, please. I think that's super helpful. Yes.
But yeah, I think like once you figure that out, and if that's hard to figure out, call Maria. Seriously, because it can be really difficult to develop your own personal style and to really feel confident about it and like you've really nailed it. But when you do get to that point and you can show up that way, the level of confidence that you have and the way that just like the precedent that it sets for the conversation in their relationship can be really huge. So for me, like I know one of my go-to outfits is a great blazer with like a tried and true pair of jeans, some like awesome denim that I know fits exactly how I want it to, is the exact right length for the shoes that I'm going to wear, all of that. And under that blazer, probably a pretty standard Oxford, maybe even a chambray shirt, but could just be like white stripes. Yes. Definitely a striped shirt will go a long way. Usually the blazer is going to be navy, but not always. I think I have at this point accrued maybe like 4 navy blazers. Most recently, I'm dead over the most recent edition. It's a Victoria Beard.
Veronica Beard. Right?
Oh my gosh, did I say that?
I was like, I know you love Veronica Beard, so I was waiting for you to talk about her.
Did I? Like how? Why? How and why? Yes, Veronica Beard. Holy smokes. Okay, Veronica Beard. I just have passion about this brand right now. It is, I just feel it deeply. But I bought a couple of blazers, and one of them is navy, gold buttons, double-breasted, just a stunner. Works with everything.
And this is like her classic blazer, right? So if you don't know this brand, this is your cue, everybody. Now go Google Veronica Beard. Her blazers, they're a little pricey, I'll say in full disclosure, but the quality, the garment construction, and the like everything design about this brand is so on point. You will see why Kate is in love.
Yes. So, well, and it is an investment. And I think, so just again, full disclosure, I'm 37 years old. I think at this point, when you get to a place where you really understand your body and what it wants to be.
Yes.
And like how, you know what I mean? Like you have kind of come to accept who you are and your whatever, and your shape and what works for your shape and
Yes.
how, all of that. Then making that type of investment can really make sense. I know that this is something that price per use wise is going to get worn to the nth degree. So I feel really good about it. Um, there aren't many things that in my closet that I would spend several $100s on, which like that's the type of price point that we're talking about for an item
Hmm.
like this.
Hmm.
But I like not a single regret. I love this to death.
And I
It's
would say, if I
yeah.
may, because again, you're a relatively new connection for me. I knew this about you after like literally the first, 2 or 3 where I'm seeing Kate at this conference and I'm kind of, I pay attention to what people wear. And
Yeah. Yeah.
particularly if you're in a speaking role or you're up front in front of people, I'm always curious about the decisions people make about what they're going to put on their body to be in front of people, right? I want to know, how do they want to communicate about themselves
Totally.
in this opportunity? And I knew instantly from how you put together an outfit, classic navy blazer, stellar jeans, that I was like, I get it. I get what Kate's putting out in the world and what feels good in her body. Right. So, and I have to tell you full disclosure. So I know when you went to the Veronica Beard store, you were
Yeah.
in, forgive me, Palm Beach.
I was in Palm Beach.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she went to the store and she put some adorable things on Instagram that she was, and I screenshotted a couple because I was like, this is the perfect example of a client, not personally, but I wanted to show that here's somebody who like gets it about her own style and isn't afraid to go for that. And as you said, to make the investment in both yourself, your personal brand, and how you feel about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and to go there. Because I think a lot of people are afraid to like put a kind of like make your mark and make your stamp on this is my message of who I am and how I'm presenting myself in the world. And not that it's only blazers and jeans, but
Oh,
it's a
right.
primary part, right?
Yeah. Well, totally. Yeah. I feel like once you are sure,
Yes,
then yes, invest in it.
that's right.
Absolutely. Because it's just so much more than the material. It's gosh, Maria, you do such a great job describing this and helping people to really understand what it can mean on a spiritual level, uh, I mean, like the psychology standpoint. I love how you bring all of that together. I know that's something that we've talked about at length.
Mhm.
And I am really just right there with you on it. It's
What do
not
you
just
think?
stuff. You shouldn't accumulate a bunch of stuff. That's not
Yes.
helpful. Don't just pack your dresser and closet until it's just bursting. That's really not the point. It's not about just buying and consuming and buying and consuming and just,
Mhm.
having all of the things and all of the trends. It's not that. It's about when you dial it down and you, then yeah, like celebrate it a little bit and get out there and do the thing.
That's exactly right. And what I love about this for you, Kate, too, and I'd be curious what you'd say to this question
Yeah.
about what do you think your style says about you?
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's such an interesting way to think about it because um I think like it would have been so easy for me to describe before because
Yes,
I was choosing my style to say a thing.
that's right.
I was saying I am wearing this suit and I'm wearing my glasses and I'm curling my hair in this particular way because I want to be seen as really put together and professional and credible in this really specific way. Whereas now I am simply wearing what I enjoy wearing.
Mm,
So what does that result in? Like what are people picking up from that?
mhm.
Um, is no longer really much of my concern. I mean, I do still care about those things to a degree because I want it to be clear that,
Sure.
what my offering is and that it's good. But when you've built your business to a certain point, then at that point, hopefully like your testimonials speak for themselves,
That's
like,
right.
when your clients are saying good things about you and the way that you're presenting yourself, um, beyond all of that, the fact that it appears to be true that what you're wearing is a reflection of what you really enjoy wearing. So I don't know. I mean, let me flip that back onto you. I mean, what do you see when you see
Yeah.
me on stage in some denim and a jacket? And I even remember I had a little like a leopard print calf hair belt on and like a white t-shirt on underneath. So what does that say to you, Maria?
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked, because I think there's two folds of this question. There's what you intend, and there's then what the person receives. So I think this is
Absolutely.
how all of this works. And part of the reason why I want people to really be intentional about their style is because it is a language of communication. It's one
Oh
of
yeah.
many ways, right, that we tell others about ourselves. It's not the only, it may not even be the most important, but I would say it's a very accessible way that the average person can choose to be intentional about it,
Yeah.
whatever your budget, whatever your access point, right? So for me, as I was receiving you, I'm thinking a
Mhm.
couple things. Number one, that what hit me was authenticity, and that's exactly what you just named, right? That
I
you were
love that.
showing up as yourself. It felt, you could tell, and everybody knows this, like when you're wearing clothes that you feel comfortable in, it
Uh-huh.
shows. And when you don't, you're pulling at it, you're twisting it, you're adjusting, like you
Yep.
can tell people's body language tells you everything
Oh,
about.
that's why we tailor things, right, Maria?
That's
It's
right.
not just about how it looks. It's, can you stop
Yes.
tugging on it, please?
Oh my gosh. And the importance of having a wardrobe
Yeah.
that fits your body as it is. So
Yeah.
immediately I can tell, boom, she's got an authentic style. Number two, I would say there's a refinement to your aesthetic. So what I translated from that, and this is again before I knew Kate really as a coach or sort of how she worked. Again, I'm just receiving her as a speaker, as someone who's engaging. I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking she's got an eye for detail.
Oh my gosh.
She's,
I should be paying you right now
yeah,
for this feedback.
the
This is like
interpretation.
making my day. Okay, go on. Go on.
So she's got an eye for detail. My guess is she also really appreciates some sense of traditionalism,
Yep.
because her style aesthetic is, some might call it like a little preppier, a little more classic and tailored, any of those things, right? And so I'm thinking there's got to be an appreciation for some traditionalism, but I already know, because she's at this conference, that she's a creative spirit. So there's got to be something in there that is the balance of some traditional kind of method or approach or kind of ways,
Mhm.
coupled with,
So
like, let's think
true.
out of the box, right? So this is all within, I don't know, the first 15 minutes that I'm paying attention to watching how you're engaging. And
Yeah.
that's just because you showed up wearing something that was true to you.
Wow. Like, can I just take you with me everywhere? Please.
Thanks, I'd love to.
Seriously. This should actually, you should add this to your services. Just a
Interpretation.
reflection. Yes.
Yeah,
Let me just allow you to tell you what you are
what
showing.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you, yes.
And because when there
That's
is a
awesome.
disconnect, let's say
Mhm.
you showed up in a peasant dress, those are super popular right now. No
Very.
judgment if anybody likes the peasant dress style.
There
I
were
think
many at the conference.
many, and
Many.
great, loved it, right? But let's say you showed up wearing that. I might interpret that differently than I interpreted you in that moment. And
Yeah.
again, it's a point that I want everybody to really embrace, that you
Yeah.
have the opportunity to control that message.
Oh, that's powerful.
So I think for you,
Yeah.
knowing your work and knowing your business, I'd
Mhm.
also like to know, how have you coached a client to really understand the role of style as they're developing their brand or working through some of their
Oh,
sticky
yeah.
situations? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Because, it extends into the brand as far as, logo, color, font, colors, font choices, everything.
Sure.
And then how all of those elements are displayed on social media, on website, on collateral, like business cards, what have you. Um, yeah, I think there, that's a huge part of it, is really making sure, hey, is what you think true I mean, sorry, let me back up on that.
Mhm.
Of course, what you think is true, because that's your perspective. You earned that just by being alive.
Sure.
But like, does that match up with what is perceived potentially? Like what are you trying to help people understand about your offering, about your brand, about who you are, who you're, what your business is? Is that coming across, and is it coming across in the way that you would hope?
Mm.
And can we do that better? Ever? So yeah, I would say that's a big conversation and a frequent conversation. And for some people, it's a really natural thing.
Mhm.
There's already a really strong understanding there. And for some people, there's a lot of disconnect, and there needs to be a lot of conversation around it, and a lot to work through there. And then sometimes, it's a difference between someone who really knows what they want to relay and they're working on how, versus others who are still trying to figure out, well, I want to do this, but then I also want to do that. And I'm not really sure how these things tie together, but I want to, focus, but I'm not sure in which way. And,
Right.
so there's a lot to, tease out potentially. But yeah, but ultimately it is really important to nail these things down, wherever a business is in that process. And I do really love engaging on that level. I do a couple of brands, like full brand suites each year. I pretty much only do brand and website work for coaching clients,
Mhm.
pretty strictly at this point. But when I do, I love just the opportunity to continue to flex those muscles and just be creative and have fun, but also to really understand some intimate things about the person. So, like, how can we take uh, memories, or important symbols, or things that are kind of represented through their life, and weave that into the brand and create a story with it. Um, so yeah, I think it's just one more opportunity
Mhm.
to show yourself.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of like at the root of all of this, for those of us who are pursuing creative businesses, is that we have something that we want to show the world, that we, um, at some point along the line have recognized the importance of being seen and understood and known, and that we're willing to show up and offer that up, hopefully to the benefit and impact of others. So being
It's
able to
beautiful.
help someone do that's really special.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. I think one of the many reasons why we connected, because Kate talks my language. Like she's,
Ah,
and I think
yes.
I say this a lot if on the podcast, but also to my own clients about, when people ask me about authentic style and like, how do I achieve authentic style? And really for me, it's always about, it's derived from knowing your authentic self. And
Oh
you
yeah.
have to go do that work about
Yep.
who you are, what matters to you, what's important, where your values, where your time, your energy, your passions are, and what
Yeah.
drives you, right? And I know you work a lot
Yeah.
with clients to help them get super clear and tight about what those things are. And I love
Mhm.
that discovery process, because I think ultimately it's going to benefit you, not just in your style, but as a human being living on this earth and hopefully working for the benefit of
Totally.
others. So,
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you use the word process, because hello, we keep growing. So it's not
that's
over.
right. It changes, it
Yeah, like
evolves.
we need to check in. We need to think about, what season are we in right now? Because it might not be the same in a few
Yes.
months ago. And also just our interests. We can get to a point in life where we feel like we have a pretty good handle on what we enjoy spending our time doing. And sometimes not. And sometimes that means we need to try some new things. I think we have this narrative upon us from when we're quite young, that we should know
Mm,
inherently, that we should be aware that, oh, I love to hike, or I love to paint, or I am going to be an attorney, and I'm 8 years old, but I'm sure that's the case. There's just a great degree of pressure to be sure, and that answer would remain true forever until you die, and that's not fair or helpful. So to just take that mantle up off of ourselves and just
mhm,
say, you know what, let's just assess where I'm at right now. What
mhm.
feels right for me now? What are my constraints and opportunities now? What do I want to wear today.
Love
And
that.
if I'm looking around and it's nothing I own, well, like, how about we go try some things?
That's right.
Maybe you go to Veronica Beard in Palm Beach. I don't know. But wherever, like,
Right.
try a thing because you might not have sorted it yet. You might
That's right.
not have figured out what is going to feel really good on.
That's
And
right.
if you need a person to help you through that, hire someone. That's real. Like that, I think one thing that I love so much about your business, Maria, is that you are just recognizing this truth that not everybody wakes up in the morning and just feels like very naturally about how they can put it all together and make it happen and feel awesome walking out the door. That is just not how we live. In the same way that, some people know exactly how they want to appoint their home and they have a very perfect vision for it. And they know, the kitchen counter heights and they just know all the things and they've been on Pinterest their whole, the last decade. And that's great. But that's not everyone. Some people want a designer to come in and help them to execute and help them to understand, not just to carry out the work, not a contractor, but someone to really help them understand how is this home going to really feel like home for me, for my family, to operate in the way that I want it to. And it's the same for wardrobe.
Yeah.
So if you need assistance, get you some, right?
I didn't even pay her to say this, you guys. I promise. Like, this is
Well, no. And why would you have to? I think that's like such a beautiful thing about creatives, about I want to say like ours, because even though you and I do such different things and the people at that conference do such different things, it's like there's that common denominator of we want to serve in this creative way. We want to bring our vision, our gifts, our aesthetic to the party.
That's right.
But in service to others, not just to be like, here, look at my awesomeness, but for like my awesomeness and your awesomeness to get together and be more awesome. Right?
So beautiful. And I love that you've painted this picture too, because, one of the things I wanted to explore with you is, you talked about in the morning, you're at your closet and you're making your choices, right? And everybody can relate to this in the morning at different levels, whether you have 5 seconds or 10 minutes or an hour. There's all sorts of different things happening when we're standing in front of our closet. And I did read on your website that you appreciate and love a well-organized closet. So I want you to tell me a little bit about this, because aside from beautiful aesthetic, right? Like there's a physicalness of, after a closet review or an edit, you put these things back in order and they're all gorgeous and they're lined up with all the right hangers. I want to know a little bit about, what does that do for you mentally, psychologically, maybe even spiritually?
Oh, it does a lot for me. So if my parents were here, they would tell you that from the time I was maybe, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, I started color coordinating my clothes in my closet, hangers, I mean, I even remember the color of hangers. I had pink and white and green hangers, and they went to specific types of clothes. I used to actually, this is kind of messed up, but I used to actually put Post-its on my dresser to say what was in each drawer. Who knows why? Because obviously I knew it was in there. It's my dresser. But yes, my interest in keeping things organized and aesthetically pleasing, it runs real deep. And I would say creates a lot of peace for me. The process of doing it, like actually culling the wardrobe, trying things on at the start of a season and trying to figure out where the gaps are, like outfit gaps. So like, how you'll run into those situations where you have like these pants that are to die for, but there's some bold random pattern and there's no shirt that works. So you have to figure that out and close the outfit loop,
Totally.
So I love that process and the intentionality. I love figuring out what is all going to work together, like, having a sense of what outfits can be made from different things and what shoes work with different pant lengths and all of that. And also being able to like open a drawer or open my closet and see things very readily. That's super important to me. So I'm that person who when Marie Kondo came online was like, oh yeah, preach. Like, I see you, I feel that. But I wasn't like, oh, let me try this, because, I was like already folding things to death. Like I knew what I was doing. I was like, Marie, you do it your way. That's dope. I appreciate it. But like, I have a system,
So amazing.
Yeah. So I do love that. And I do feel like it creates a lot of peace.
Yeah.
And I do that for the members of my family too. And I don't know how much they necessarily care. I'm talking about young children here.
Sure.
But I believe that one day
Yes.
it will help them to preserve their peace too. Not having that chaos of walking into a room of laundry everywhere and not really knowing what you're going to wear or whatever, just eliminating that entirely, I think is huge. So again, you get to see this in a much more dramatic way, probably all the time, Maria, where you're taking people from like ground zero to awesome land. So I'm curious about that experience for you too, because I know how much of an impact it has for me to maintain that way. But I do feel like a stellar before and after has its merits.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I have friends that remind me of this all the time that are like, it's so great because whether or not people sort of get the deeper level things of what's going on here, because that's always a huge part of my motivation.
Yeah.
There's a before and after, and there's a physicalness to the work that you can see when we've begun and when we've concluded that, and inevitably I will hear about, gosh, I can breathe deeper. I feel clearer. That sense of peace that you just named.
Yeah.
I have a sense of calm and clarity about how to go into my work. So the words that people use, this is not, I'm not feeding any of this. This is just people's immediate reactions when you're finished and they kind of step back and they look at the closet and they're seeing all the things accessible. It's edited down to everything they love. It's in an orderly way that they can now maintain, right? I'm not creating systems that people are never going to maintain. Right. It's giving them a closet that works for them.
Yes. Oh, preach.
Yeah. Such good. And that to me feels like maybe then someone sees the greater, deeper level wins later. Maybe they don't immediately take that in. But I think the physicalness of having a closet that works for you is a really important part of the process. And sounds like we share that love. So I love that.
Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah. It is so worth it. It is worth the investment of time and creating room and a budget to even get started. And I love what you're saying too about having a system that where you can actually go through a process of teaching someone how to maintain it. Because I think there is that concern. We see those before and afters on Instagram, right? And we're like, well, how do you keep it like that? Well, the thing is, if you put it together the right way, it's easier to keep it that way than not.
That's correct. Yeah. And not everybody responds to the same approach and method. So you have to be responsive. And I think this is why the physicalness of it really makes sense, that, we can create a system that works for you that isn't, it may look like Pinterest, but it's your method. It's where you need things to be and how they need to be organized. That's going to work best for you. So
yes. I feel like we relate on this on a larger scale too, because it really, for me, with coaching, with consulting, it really is that tailoring process. That really is about personalizing and understanding how does this need to function in order to, achieve whatever or operate in such a way. And so really stepping way back to the beginning of what are we trying to do here? That's instead of trying to solve something where it's at. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes otherwise, we end up solving problems that don't need solving at all. Like, how do I organize my 8 raincoats? Well, that's not really the problem.
That's right. Maybe we'll step back and say, why do you have 8 raincoats?
Why do you like, what's the fear here? Or are you in Seattle?
That's right.
Right. Because if you're in Southern California, let's give you a little checkpoint. Like maybe we're going to dial it back on the raincoats.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe that's not really serving you in your life.
Kate is picking up what I am putting down. I love it, you guys.
Oh my gosh, but it's true. It's true across so many
Yeah.
types of work. And I would apply that so differently with my clients, but I can readily see the impact is the same ultimately because it creates that ability to have peace, to execute how you need to be efficient, to be confident in how you're going to approach what you need to do that day. So I'm with you.
Beautiful. Yep. And you know what, Kate, I want to give a plug for your work, because if our listeners haven't already picked up on your style, your gentleness, but your humor, I mean, there's so many aspects of how you show up as a business coach that I've been the direct recipient and very grateful of, that I think it would be wonderful for you to tell our audience, how can they find you? How can they learn more about what you do? And maybe if they're interested in working with you, how that might work.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to do that. Yeah. I would say the best thing you could do is find me on Instagram. I love a voice DM. So I'm going to actually give a little challenge to any listener who might be curious or might want to work together, or even just get connected, like peer-to-peer colleagues. What's up? Like, let's chat. At hammer_Kate on Instagram is my handle. And there you can either shoot me a DM. Please let it be a voice DM. I would just adore that. And I will 100% voice DM you back. Or if you just want to set up a call, the top link in my bio is for a 15-minute discovery call, and we can hop on Zoom and see what's going on with your business. I would love that. Or your potential business, because I'd love that too. And as far as specifics on what we might do, whether it's group coaching or one-on-one, or, maybe you have a conference you want to see me show up at and hang at, whatever it is, we can talk about it there too. So either way, I love this.
Amazing. And I will include all this in the show notes, everybody, so you can make sure that you can connect with Kate. But I just have to say thank you. Like, I feel so grateful that our paths crossed. I've had opportunities to really learn from you and gain some very critical business information and strategy that I've needed on my side, but also just, you're such a delight, Kate. Like, you're such a good human to know. And so I'm really grateful for you being here today.
I'm grateful for you too. Thank you so much for inviting me. You are a light, and I just adored this time. So thanks.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks, everybody. And we will see you all again next time. Thanks so much for listening today. If you enjoyed what you've heard, I would appreciate you taking the time to leave a review on the podcasting platform you're using, and share this episode with others who you think might really enjoy these conversations about personal style. For more information all about MFD Style services, you can find me on the web at mfdstyle.com, on Instagram at mfd_style, where I post almost 5 days a week, or send me an email at maria@mfdstyle.com. I also have a weekly email I send to subscribers, so I will include the link to that sign up in the show notes. So until next time, friends, remember to love yourself and then love yourself some more.